Hi everyone, it's Danny. So a viewer of mine asked me if I could make a video on how to clean and disinfect roots on orchids, since I'm talking about it so much. And yeah, I thought I could do something like that because I do have an orchid which is overdue for a repot. And I can show you my routine, my disinfecting routine. Now, first off, why do you want to disinfect the roots? Since everybody on the internet says don't wash the orchid's roots, or most people. Well, you do want to do that actually, because sometimes, in many cases actually, you can get some pests in the pot, especially snails, and that can actually kill your orchid. They are really vicious. And I'm going to show you an orchid that was repotted a few months ago. I was sloppy with it, I didn't properly clean it and disinfect it, and it was a very bad idea, and I'll show you why. As you can see how this root ends, it sort of looks like the tip was chopped off and the root ends suddenly. Now, the only thing that can cause this is an actual snail. So this pot is infested with snails, and I do want to get them out. I'll show you how I'll get, or try to get them out of this pot as well. Well, first of all, you need some sort of disinfectant. I think it's called spirits, methylene spirits. I'm not really sure, but Dane knows better. So I like to keep it in a sort of a jar because I can just let this sit here until I need it. Then, of course, you will need a clean table or a clean, tray that was previously disinfected. If you worked on it with other orchids, try to disinfect it with some alcohol. It's a good idea because there might be some eggs, some snail eggs or other stuff that you want to get out of there. And also you need gloves. And of course you'll need hydrogen peroxide, which I'm going to bring. I don't have it here. You'll need hydrogen peroxide 3%. You do want to use gloves with hydrogen peroxide no matter what, because that stuff stings like hell. So okay, let's get to it. Okay, so I've got it out of the pot, and now the next thing you want to do is actually remove as much bark out of these roots as you possibly can. And then you can actually get it to the shower or in your sink and wash and soak the roots really well. This will make the remaining bark chips get out of the roots pretty fast. Okay, so I'll actually get to that and I'll come back for the next step. Alrighty, so I've actually unpotted the plant, and here is the mother plant. And also, bonus, I seem to have another plant, a second plant that was planted together with the mother plant. So yay me, I'm thinking I can pot them up together and have a sort of a bushy plant that will produce a lot of flower spikes. But anyway, you would say everything is cool, right? Wrong. And looky here, this is the culprit. See, this is what you want to avoid having in your pot. And it's just so tiny that if you're not specifically looking for this in your medium, you will not see it. They can be even smaller than this. They can be babies that will grow and will eat your whole root system. So if you were to deal with a sicker orchid than this, or with an orchid that had a lesser root system, something like this would have destroyed your orchid. Now, I think this is the culprit for many orchid deaths that were inexplicable in the end, so don't take this lightly. You do want to get rid of these guys. And as I told you, they don't need to be this big for you to still have an infestation. This is why I like to wash the roots as best as I can. Okay, so I'll be right back and tell you the next steps that you have to take. I just wanted to show you that I was not crazy. This is what you have to look for. Okay, be right back. Okay, so I got rid of my old medium. I don't want to keep any parts of it, and I don't want to mix it with the new medium, even though some people on the internet suggest that the old medium might transfer some beneficial bacteria. Well, I think I can handle it just well without the beneficial bacteria, if they actually exist, because the old medium can actually transfer snail eggs or even tiny snails to my new fresh medium, and then I will have a dead orchid in no time. So I did not disinfect this tray just yet, because what I want to do now is another very important thing you want to do if you want to have healthy orchids, and that is to get rid of all these dried whatever leaves they have, and also the dead roots. And the only way to figure out which root is dead with an oncidium is to actually press it. And if it's hard to the touch, it's alive. If it's mushy, then it's dead. If you're dealing with an orchid with a big root system, it's gonna take a while and you have to have patience, but it will definitely pay off. Okay, so I chopped off everything that didn't look good to me. Fortunately, this orchid looks pretty good. Still has some roots that I think will eventually die, but they can also branch out. So I chopped off everything, and it's now time to go to the sink and wash it out before we use the hydrogen peroxide army. So I'll switch over to the sink just for the sake of it, and yeah, be right back. Okay, so we're at my sink right now. You want to get your water lukewarm. You don't want to make it too cold, you don't want to make it too hot. Just lukewarm should be fine. And now what you want to do actually is rinse off these roots as best as you can. It doesn't really matter if you're actually soaking the plant as well. It doesn't matter if you're getting any water in between the leaves. We're gonna dry it out and I'm gonna show you how. Alrighty, so my orchids are cleaned, are washed actually, they're not yet cleaned. I've also disinfected my table and disinfected the tray I'm using, and also the scissors is staying into the alcohol. So what you want to do now before you actually repot is you want to use the snail killer. There are two ways actually of doing this. One is actually you can spray everything with hydrogen peroxide and let it fizz very well and then pot it up. But because these orchids are huge, I'm gonna do something else. I got my whole army of hydrogen peroxide now. I'm gonna use this and put hydrogen peroxide here. I'm gonna let them soak. Also, I wanna do this because I wanna disinfect the other orchid, which I showed you at the beginning of this video. Okay, so my orchid is in hydrogen peroxide right now. As you can see, it fuzzes quite a bit. I think you can also hear it. Don't keep it here for too long. 1 minute is all you need, or even less. So after you do this, let your orchid drain in the sink. So I'm gonna do this for the baby as well. I'm gonna let it just fizz a little bit in the drain in the sink, and I'll come back. Now, as I told you, I want to disinfect this pot as well because it clearly has snails. Disinfecting a pot is really harder because if the snails are trapped in the gaps of air, you really don't resolve anything. It's useless. But I'm gonna keep it here a bit longer just so I make sure that the snails are dead. So far, this is the best I can do. If I notice they're still attacked, I'll probably repot this one as well. But for now, all I want to do is sink it into the hydrogen peroxide. And we are back. The roots are still fuzzing, but that's quite alright. Now it's time to actually pot your orchids. Choose an appropriate pot size. I decided to go up a pot size because I have 2 plants and a massive root system. And now just pot it up in the medium you like. I like to water my orchids after potting them. I don't know, I just do that, and I didn't have problems. And okay, I'll pause this now. You don't have to see this, it's not necessary. So I'll come back to show you how to actually remove all the excess water that might have been trapped in the leaves. Okay, so this is the finished result. Now, to actually get all the excess water that could be trapped between the leaves, all you have to do is use a fan. Oopsie, come on, dude. And there we go. Now, don't use the super strong setting, and maybe don't put the plant so close, but you just want to have a little bit of a wind here between the leaves. And actually, if you leave it here for a few hours, maybe overnight, it will dry out the surface of the pot, but it's quite alright. And yeah, it will dry out all the water that has been trapped. Now you have great chances to having a super healthy orchid, pest-free, and why not fungus-free. So okay, thank you for joining. Hope you learned something new, and hope you don't have any problems with pests. As I told you, they're a mess. Okay, I'll make this quick. If you like what you see, subscribe to my channel, and if you have other questions, pop them in a comment. I'll see you next time. Bye!